Hi everybody, welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we are here for a recap video. Now you might be wondering what a recap video is. This is where we're going to take a look at the Book Grocer Advent box that I got for 2022 and see what I've read and what I haven't, and talk a little bit about those books. So let's get started. Good morning or good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'd just like to say I hope that you had a very Merry Christmas and you have all recovered from all the festivities and you are gearing up for a gorgeous new year. I am still keeping with the theme of taking it easy and not getting too worked up about the silly season. So, as I said in the intro, we are here for a bit of a recap video. We're going to take a look at the 2022 Book Grocer box that I got. So hopefully you have either watched or you are still enjoying seeing what books I got for 2023. The playlist is linked up down below, so you can go and check that out and see what books I've got to look forward to this year. I must admit, this year's box I am absolutely thrilled with. I'm looking forward to reading just about every book. There's probably one or two that I'm not too keen on, but I'm okay to give them a couple of chapters, maybe 50 or 60 pages or something like that, and see if I want them. I've already spoken to a gentleman at Nambour, and he is keen to take the books to give Savannah a credit. So we've had a bit of a chat to him because I have a book haul coming up shortly as well. All right, so we got 24 books, just like we did this year. We got them last year. I have read 14 books out of, actually, I read 13 books out of the box, and I swapped one out with Savannah. And because for some reason, I got two anomalies. I've never had that happen before, and I just believe it was a mistake. I didn't question him about it or anything like that. So I swapped it out with Savannah because she hadn't read it, and she was putting it, I think she was actually going to give it to a friend. So I gave her that copy, and she gave me another book, and I will get into that. And I have read that book, so I will get into that in a little while. Now, I'm not going to go into the synopses or anything like that. So if you want to see anything about these books, that is all listed up in the Advent. And I will tell you what day that they come in, so it makes it nice and interesting. So grab your pen and paper, and we'll get into the ones that I did not read. Now, I have not read The Passage. It's a nice big chunky book by Justin Crowan. This one I am planning on reading this year because I have just recently picked up in a book haul, which you'll see soon, part 2 to this. So I believe this is a duology. I will have to double check that, but I believe it is a duology. I will go into more detail about this particular book when I talk about when I'm going to read it. So I have received this in another box as well. Savannah, however, had not received this. Oh no, so she also received this one as well. And I had then 2 copies. So she has taken the copy and I've been left with one. She's taken one copy and already cashed that in. So I have that one to read. But as I said, that is actually going to be in another video. You'll get to see that. The other one that I have not read is Alexander McCall Smith at The Distant View of Everything. Now, I believe this one is a little ways down in the Isabel Dalhousie series, and I believe it is 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's the 11th book, and that's why I haven't read it, because I want to get a couple more of these. I do believe that I'm going to be very interested in this one. This is very much a murder mystery series. I don't know too much about this particular author. I haven't read them before, but just from what I've seen in the synopsis, and as I said, each book I have gone into very much detail into that. This particular book was, let me just see, The Passage was day 14. This particular book, let me just find it. I've got my list here, but I've crossed everything out. Was day 3. So there is a detailed detail of what this book is about, but it is a murder mystery, and I'm looking forward to it. It's sort of set in I believe it's set around the 20s, maybe. That is another one that I haven't read. Okay, the next one that I haven't read is Capture or Kill, a former MI5 agent, sorry, Thomas Martin. market. He is, I believe this is his novel, and it is revolving around, obviously, MI5 agent, and two brothers known operationally as Iron Sword and Stone Fist are suspected of plotting a major terrorist attack. So that is what it is about. Now, I'm also going to tell you which ones I'm going to unhaul. This one, I really don't have any, like, it seems like it would have a great premise to it and all that sort of stuff, but this is on the possible unhaul. So this will be going to Savannah to take with her to get a book exchange. So I'm going to make a separate pile for that. So let me move that over here. They are my unhaul books. The next one that I'm pretty keen to read is another set in the 20s. This is by Georgette Heyer. It's one that I haven't read, and it's called A Blunt Instrument. I believe this was, let me just have a look. This was book 6. Okay, so day 6. And there's a few other ones that I'd like to get as well in the series. From what I've read, it seems like a very, like a murder mystery, all that sort of stuff. Something that is like a little bit of like cozy sort of murder mystery. So Ernest Fletcher is found bludgeoned to death in his study, and everyone is shocked and mystified. Ernest was well liked and respected, so who would have a motive to kill him? So it's sort of like, you know, a whodunit sort of one. So I'm pretty keen to read this, and I've heard good things about Georgette Heyer as well. So I'm pretty keen to keep this one on my shelf. As I said, the ones that I'm getting rid of will go over this way. All right, this one here is translated works. I believe this is translated from Norwegian. It is called The Ice. It's a pretty hard sort of one to get onto the camera. I don't think I am going to. It is a claustrophobic thriller. It's a cry for help. Anna Anu is a scientific expedition to the North Pole when the pitch black of the polar night is lit up by a distant flare. So yeah, so basically she has discovered mutilated bodies, and they're strewn everywhere about the base, and so basically she needs to find out who the killer is and all that sort of stuff. Now this one I am very much undecided about, so I'm going to have a little bit of a look and see if it is part of a series or not. If it's part of a series, I probably won't look at it, but let me just have a look and see if it is. So just bear with me for a moment. I'm just going to double check it and make sure. I probably should have done this before I got on camera, but you know, we like to wing things here. So hopefully we can find out. I've got my phone and I'll find out if it is part of a series. Okay, so I went and double checked. This is definitely a standalone. And as I said, it is translated from the Norwegian. So I think I'm going to actually keep this on my shelf, because as you know, I am doing the Read Around the World challenge, and I am trying to make it that you'll get to see hear a little bit more about that in a coming video. So yeah, so I am definitely going to keep this one on my shelf. As I said, it is actually translated, so it is actually a good one to read. This one was let me just have a look at, this was day 4, so I haven't read that one, so I'm definitely going to keep that one, and I'm also going to put it into the pile of my Read Around the World. So that is very interesting. All right, the next one that I have is called Little Deaths. It's a novel by Emma Flint. This one I am pretty keen to read. This one is, I believe this one is about it's in 1965 in the summer. There is a heat wave. On one July morning, Ruth Malone, a cocktail waitress, wakes to find her bedroom window open, and after desperate, and her 2 young children are missing. So I think this one's going to be a tearjerker, and I have eyed this off a couple of times this year. Unfortunately, I was trying to fit a lot of them into reading prompts for like readathons and stuff like that, and I hadn't been able to, but I had picked it up a couple of times, and I had put it onto my pile of possibilities. So it has been touched quite a bit this year, so I'm definitely going to be putting that still on the to be read pile. The next one that I have not read is an Ian Rankin one, and now I do have several of his books. I believe this is a short story collection. I do have several on his on my shelf, and I have not picked them up, although I did pick this one up for the amazing readathon because it had blue on the cover, and it was like definitely 50%. Blue. So this is a complete collection of Rebus short stories. Now, I have several times gone to go and give this to Savannah to take because I don't think that I'm going to be wanting to read it, but I have spoken to a couple of people this year and they said that Ian Rankin is a pretty good author and that I should give him a go, especially if I like detective stories, which I do. And these are short stories, so I figured I can sort of dive into it. And part of my plans for 2024 is to read more short stories. So I think this is actually going to work for me. So this is one that is going to stay on my shelf. If I have not picked this up by the end of the year, it definitely will be getting moved on. So it is on my self-destruct list. All right. So I haven't created that list yet, but I do know that Ian Rankin is one of the authors that is actually on it. Okay. Now I do have another one here called Quieter Than Killing, and I believe so the Ian Rankin one was day 24. If you want, I didn't really go into detail because it's short stories. I mean, pretty much it's his Rebus detective novels are the ones. So if you are looking for some Rebus detective short stories, that is probably your go-to book. It is just called The Beat Goes On. So I believe he has several books revolved around this particular detective. Now, I do like detective stories, and as I said, I do have a couple of Ian Rankin stuff on my shelf, and I haven't got rid of them because I've been told to, keep going with them. All right, this one is called Quieter Than Killing. And I believe this one is like book 6 in a series, and I have not got book 1. So I do not know if I don't think I really want to start a series, and I believe that this has got like 10 or 11 in it. Let me just pull that up and we'll have a closer look at it. Okay, so I've just pulled it up on Goodreads. There's actually 6 in a series. So this is actually book 4. It was another book I was thinking of that was book 6, which I ended up reading, and it was not from this. So I got the two mixed up, very similar covers. So this is book 4. It is the D.I. Marnie series, and I don't think I'm interested in reading this series. So I am actually going to get rid of this and put that over in this pile. And I believe Savannah also got this one as well, and she's already got rid of it. So there's another one for her to take. All right, I've got 2 more to get through. Both of these, I believe, are thrillers. The first one, and the Quieter Than Killing one, that was day 7. Okay, so the next one is called 7 Lies. This one here, it says on the back, it all started with one little lie. Jane and Marnie have been inseparable since they were 11 years old. They have a lot in common. In their early 20s, they both fell in love with and married handsome young men, but Jane never liked Marnie's husband. He was always so loud and obnoxious, so much larger than life, which is rather ironic, of course, because if Jane had to be honest, if she hadn't lied, then perhaps her best friend's husband might still be alive. Okay, so this one I tried to fit into a few prompts. It just didn't fit for me. If I had been on Team Scarlet, might have fit. If I had been on Team Red for the amazing readathon, it might have fit, but it didn't. So I'm pretty keen to read this one. I'm looking forward to it. I was looking forward to it last year. I don't know why I haven't picked it up, but it is definitely one that I'm going to pick up, and hopefully I can fit it into a couple of TBRs coming up in the first couple of months, because I've got a couple of readathons that are happening, so it might fit a couple of prompts there. You'll have to keep an eye out for those videos. So that is definitely going on the reading pile. Now this one here, sorry, 7 Lies. Let me have a look when this was. This was a day 21, 7 Lies was, and Safe was day 11. Now, this one is another one that I would like to read. It's a thriller. I do like thrillers. I like curling up on a cold winter's night with a thriller and, scaring the crapper out of myself and just having a fun time. So if little girls can disappear into thin air, then what else is possible? Jenny Crystal was 6 years old when she disappeared right from outside her house. 12 years later, when posters come down down and her story is all but forgotten, she returns home with a story of a miraculous escape from her kidnappers. But even as her parents and her brother welcome her back, questions begin to mount. So I've got a feeling that I'm going to really enjoy this, because I have read other books where, you know, a kid disappears and they come back, and just how it all unravels and all the things that happen and all that sort of stuff. So I'm pretty keen to read this one. So this one is actually staying on the list. All right. So out of those 10, I am DNFing 2 of these. So now, as I said to you, I did swap out a book, and that was The Anomaly. I got 2 of them, and I replaced it with Across the Water. This was set in Australia, in a remote town, and there was a river that went through between these line of houses on one side and another house on this side. And this is basically just a whodunit. There is a murder mystery thriller aspect to it, but it was more heavy on the mystery than opposed to the thriller, but it had some thrilling elements to it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I forget what my star rating for this was, but I'm pretty sure it was like a 3.5. Like, I had a really good time with it. It's nothing to write home about, essentially. You know, it was just a really good book. It was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. I did sort of guess that the twist towards the end, but I didn't at the same time, if that makes sense. I sort of went from here, there, and everywhere on this, but I did enjoy it, and I'm glad that I swapped it out. As I said, I did get 2 copies of The Anomaly, so I brought this one in, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. All right, so the next book that I am going to talk about is The Anomaly. Now, as I said, I got 2 of these books, and that's why I brought this one in. So that wasn't actually part of the Christmas Advent. It was part of another one. So yeah, so I ended up with 2 of these books in it, and that's why I swapped it out. Now, this was day 1, and then I got the other one on day 17, I believe. So this one I actually gave 4 stars to. I've actually wrote my star rating in the front so I could remember, because I had a plan to do this video. This one is really good, because this one is this made me feel a lot of things. Like, I'm scared of the dark. I'm really, really scared of the dark, and I hate it. And so this was like involving being in the dark in a cave, but it was a group of people that have a YouTube channel, and they try to find lost treasures and stuff like that. And so they end up in this cave, and yeah, and all this stuff happens while they're in there. And it was just a fun time read. Like, it really did have me on the edge of my seat while I was reading it. So I had a fun time reading that one. As I said, if you want to see detailed synopses of these, go and check them out. And as I said, I have given that one 4 stars. The next one, and these aren't in any particular order, the next one that I read was Lucy Clark's The Castaway. This one is about 2 sisters that are on a holiday. One goes missing and without a trace, and no one knows what happened to them. And the other sister, you know, is trying to find out and all that sort of stuff. So this had me, you know, turning the pages. I was really having a good time. And when I don't pick up a thriller all the time, so when I do, I sort of have a really good time with them. This one I actually gave, let me just have a look. I think I gave this, if I haven't already said, I gave it 4 stars. So I did have a good time with it. So basically, the premise behind this, as I said, it's 2 sisters. One doesn't make the plane, the other one ends up on the plane, and the plane goes down. And then they find themselves on a secluded island, and the story follows on from there. I do not want to say any more than that. That is just the basic premise of it. I had a fun time reading. I have actually recommended this to a few of my friends. They have read it, and they also enjoyed it as well. So if you're looking for, you know, a summer type of theme, a holiday, missing, all that sort of stuff, a thriller, this is the one. It's sort of a mystery thriller, this one. I had a fun time reading it. As I said, 4 stars. All right, the next one I read is called 3/5. I believe I read this during the Amazing Readathon. This one is about a young lad that is biracial. He doesn't know that he's biracial until he's about 11 years old. It has a lot of racist things in this, about, like, his grandfather was quite the racist. Him and his mother got thrown out by the grandfather, and it just tells his story of him learning who he is and the struggles that they faced, and ultimately the end which was quite horrific in my opinion. But anyway, it was that's not giving anything away. But yeah, so it is a crime story that sort of unfolds, but it's got that underlying message of the struggles of this young lad, and also his friend that he was with and all that sort of stuff. And it's sort of, in a way, it's a book about passing. So he is biracial, but he can pass for white. And so basically, it's sort of telling his story and all that sort of stuff, and how, like I said, the struggles and all that sort of stuff. And it's got his friend in it as well, plays a major role in this book as well. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave this one a 3.5 stars. I gave this one. It wasn't really a long enough book. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more like a little bit more exploration of the struggles and why they were struggling and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, and also a little bit more backstory about the friend as well. Like, we got a fair bit of backstory about the friend, but just not enough. I would have liked to have known, what led him down that path and all that sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, it was still a thoroughly enjoyable book. It just, I felt that it lacked a little bit of like depth to the book. But yeah, I mean, each to their own, I guess. But I just wanted a little bit more from the book. Like, I've read some short books about passing and everything, and they've been very impactful. And this was impactful, by very much an impactful book and all that sort of stuff. But I think the author missed the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper. That's just my opinion, but still a good book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you pick it up. Okay, the next book that we have, I believe that was book 9 in last year's one. This one is called You and Me. It's by Nicola Rayner, and this was the first time I've seen Nicola Rayner around on the shelves and stuff like that. Predominantly writes in the thriller genre. This one I only gave a 3.5 stars. I was a little bit like, it was okay. I think a lot of people who like thrillers and stuff like that would probably enjoy it, but probably would end up saying the same thing that I'm about to say. I found it a little bit too long. But I also understand why it was long. And I sort of guessed what was going on as well. So that's why I marked it down a little bit. And I got a little bit frustrated while I was reading it, but it was still an enjoyable story. And I think someone out there will definitely enjoy it. It's sort of like an obsession, like the main protagonist has an obsession for this particular the other person that's in the book. And also she also witnessed what she believes was a crime, and this is in the first couple of chapters. She's basically on a train platform. She sees two people that she knows, one that she is mildly obsessed with, the other she went to school with. And yeah, and so basically she sees something, well, she thinks she sees something, and the story ensues from there. So we go along with the protagonist while she's trying to work out what actually happened on the platform that night. So it was, in that aspect, that side of the story was brilliant. But as I said, some of the areas I just felt a little bit bored and all the rest of it. But in saying that, I'd also read quite a number of thrillers around the time I read this book. So but I still enjoyed it, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people out there enjoying it as well. So yeah, there's just, it's got secrets. She thinks she's witnessed a crime, but she's not 100% sure. And, and she doubts herself a lot through the book as well. So yeah, so I did enjoy it. But as I said, I only gave it 3.5 stars. And to me, 3 stars is a great book still. It's just wasn't my cup of tea. There is someone out there that will definitely enjoy it. And I have had friends that have heard me say, what the book is about, and what I didn't like about it. And they've gone into the book with their eyes wide open, and they've still enjoyed the book. So just because I mark it down a little bit because of my requirements doesn't mean that it isn't a good book. Speaking of good books, this one here by Abigail Dean is a 4-star read for me. It's called Girl A. Essentially, Lexi Gracie doesn't want to think about her family. She doesn't want to think about growing up with her in her parents' house of horrors. And this was a tough read. Like, there was some stuff in the beginning of this book that was, whew, I was on sprints when I was reading this, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to read this on sprints. But yeah, so she doesn't want to think about anything, and or about the House of Horrors, and she doesn't want to think about her identity as Girl A, the girl who escaped. So essentially, when her mother dies in prison and leaves Lex and her siblings the family home, she has to return She can't run from her past and she has to return. Together with her sister Evie, Lex intends to turn the House of Horrors into a force of good. But first she must come to terms with her six siblings and with the childhood that they shared. So it is not a great childhood, I will just say that. And there are some um there are trigger warnings in this about assault, child abuse, and all that sort of stuff. It's not great. It is really not great. So if you don't like that sort of stuff, you will stumble across, stumble in this book and get quite upset. So I would not recommend it for you. But if you can read about that sort of thing and go into it objectively, you will end up enjoying this book. And I must say, I didn't really see how it was going to end, but I was pretty happy how it did end. It was great. All right, the next one is a classic that I read. This was the first time that I had read Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and I always get his name turned around, and I know, you think I'd know it after all this time. All right, so this particular one, I believe this was book 18. Now, I have not written my star rating in this, but I had a really good time, and I'm going to say that it's a 3-star rating from me. It was the first time that I read Sherlock Holmes. I don't know why I waited so long, but the more I think about, and the reason I haven't wrote the 3-star rating in it, but I've only done it on Goodreads, is because I think that I'm actually going to bring that up a little bit to a 3.75, almost a 4, but not quite. I mean, it's a classic. It's got some problem stuff in it, and that's why I sort of marked it down and all that sort of stuff. But if I didn't want to worry about the problem stuff and all that sort of stuff, I would probably give this a solid 4. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why I've waited so long to read Sherlock Holmes. I'm so glad that this came in the box because I picked it up and I just had a really good time reading it. This is a collection of short stories from the point of view of Watson, and Watson is an idiot. Like, I did not realize how daft this guy was. Like, he just doesn't see anything that's right in front of his face. And I know that Sherlock Holmes is supposed to be the hero of the stories and all that sort of stuff, but come on. Could have given Watson a little bit of a break to score on something every now and again, and whatnot. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. They're very fast-paced, these short stories as well. They moved pretty quickly, so I didn't feel like I was bored or anything like that. So if you haven't read Sherlock Holmes, may I suggest you pick up this. It was a great little fun time read, and it was a bunch of short stories, which I wanted to read more short stories. Sort of fell on my face on that one, but I managed to get a few in, and this was one of them, so I was pretty happy with that. All right, the next one that these next 3 are all thrillers. The next one is called Mirrorland. This one here, it's hard to explain. Okay, so and I read this back in January. I think I read this. This is one of the first ones that I read out of the box because I was very intrigued by the premise. So essentially, we have 2 sisters that are growing up in this house, and they have this imaginary place that they escape to when things aren't going right, called Mirrorland. And this is where they're supposedly safe and all that sort of stuff. So number 36 Westerick Road is an imposing flatstone house on the outskirts of Edinburgh, a place of curving shadows and crumbling grandeur. But it is what lies underneath the house that is extraordinary. Mirrorland, a vivid make-believe world that twin sisters Kat and Elle created as children, a place that they escaped to, but from what? And now in her 30s, Kat has turned her back on her past, but when she receives news that Elle has disappeared, she is forced to return to Westerick Road and re-enter the forgotten world that lies of lies, betrayal, and danger. Because Elle has had a plan, she left behind a treasure hunt that will unearth long-buried secrets and discover the truth. Kat must first confront the reality of her childhood. So again, there is abuse in this and all that sort of stuff. A hard topic to read if that's something that triggers you. But if you can get past that, a pretty damn good book. I gave this 4 stars. And I read this over a couple of days back at the end of January. So really good book. I really love the premise of the book. I love the fact that, like kids do have, imaginary friends and lands and stuff like that. So it was really good that this author drew on that. It is by Johnston. And I really like the fact that the author drew on this from the kid's childhood, from their perspective, and now as an adult, Cat now has to face that because she has blocked a lot of it out. And I don't know whether is the right word. She just doesn't want to face it. But yeah, so basically they go on a bit of a treasure hunt, and slowly but surely you start to understand what this Mirrorland was throughout the book. And I thoroughly enjoyed the whole time that I was reading this. I feel a little bit like I read it a little bit too fast. I would have liked to have enjoyed a little bit more because I did only read this over 2 days. And I listened to both audio and read along with it as well. So would I read it again? I don't think so. But who knows, in like 5 or 10 years time, I might pick it up and go for a little bit of a stroll down this one again. Like, yeah, I know how it ends and all that sort of stuff, but just the whole thing of having the treasure hunt and delving into her past and all that sort of stuff, and their, ultimately their make-believe land and how it kept them safe and all that sort of stuff. I really did enjoy this one. All right, the next one, and I am keen to read more from both this author, so Carolyn Johnson and also from Jen Williams. Now, this one is a great book. I actually gave this one 4 stars as well. The premise for this one is a young woman has just lost her mother. Her mother took her own life, and when she's going through her mother's stuff, she comes across a whole bunch of letters that were written to a serial killer that is still in jail. But here's the kicker. She is also a journalist as well. So she manages to get into the jail to talk to the said serial killer. But the thing is, the police, and I can't remember whether the police officer was a longtime friend or whether it was just she approached the police officers to talk to. That little bit is a little bit hazy because I read this months and months ago. But yeah, it was a great book. Like the premise behind it, what if you were going through your parents' stuff and you come across a whole bundle of letters to this serial killer? So yeah, it was really good. So she needs to, like, it's 20 years on since this gentleman had been jailed, and basically she goes down the path of trying to get closer to him to find more out about him and ultimately find more out about her mother, because she was estranged from her mother. They didn't have a great relationship or anything like that. But here's the kicker. The murders have started up again. And he has always claimed he's innocent. So now we're not only trying to find out why her mother killed herself and more about the serial killer and how they knew each other, but we're also trying to, on a time crunch of trying to find out who the killer is. Is he actually innocent after all this time, or is it something more sinister? So yeah, it was a great fun time read. I really could not put this down. I ended up listening to the audio as well, and on because I had to go driving and whatnot, and I did not want to put this book down. So I ended up finishing off with the audio. Great book, thoroughly enjoyed it. And did not, I sort of had an inkling that something was happening, but I was way off. So yeah, right up there. All right, now my only 5-star read so far is Linwood Barkley, Elevator Pitch. This bloody book had me on the edge of my flippin' seat. Like, I do not like heights or anything like that. It's even made me a little bit wary about going into elevators, I can assure you. So basically, this is sort of going over a week, and it starts off with a heart-pounding prologue. Did it have a prologue? I can't remember now, but it was heart-pounding. I'm like, I read it. I'm just like, holy crap, I'm never going on elevators again. So basically, this is set in New York City. Now, we find in the beginning of the book, there is a body found at I think it's called the High Line. So yeah, so anyway, I will just read you the synopsis because if I talk in depth about this, I'm actually going to give it away. So meet a serial killer of a different kind. It begins on Monday when four people board an elevator in Manhattan. Each presses their button for their floor, but the elevator climbs non-stop to the top, pauses for a few seconds before dropping right to the bottom of the shaft. Okay, it appears to be a horrific random tragedy. But then on Tuesday, it happens again, and Wednesday brings yet another catastrophe. New York, one of the most vertical cities in the world, is thrown into chaos. Clearly, this is anything but a random. This is a cold and calculated bid to terrorize New York, and it's working. It worked for me, I can assure you. But what do these deadly acts of sabotage have to do with the fingerless body that was found on the High Line? So yeah, so it just and then it's a race against time before something else happens. And oh my goodness, this had my heart pounding. Now I recommended this to my friend because Savannah also got this in hers. So I actually sent a copy off to my friend. And so this is the only copy we have left. And Savannah wants to read it, but I said she couldn't take it until I had done this video. So yeah, so I was on the edge of my seat, and as I said, I sent it off to a friend, and her she has an in life book club, in real life book club, and they read it, and when she finished it, she sent me a message. She goes, "Oh my God, that book was phenomenal." So this is my only 5-star read. All right, now that is everything that I've gone through. The next two books that is While Justice Sleeps, I DNF'd it. That was a political thriller, and I just wasn't into it. Wasn't feeling it. It's been unhauled and left. And The Girl That Died Twice, which is a follow-on from The Girl with the Tattoo with the Dragon Tattoo. Yeah, I've got several of those copies in a few of the books, and I have just moved them all on. I had no interest in reading them. Savannah also got those as well, so we moved them on. Now I do have a couple other books here. Now I did replace the books that we moved on, that I DNF'd. I replaced them with the next book in the series. So the first book I'm going to talk about, this is translated from the Swedish, and it's called The Gilded Cage. And this one has all the problems that Swedish books have in it. I cannot remember. I think I gave this a 3-star, no, sorry, 4-star rating. Now I really enjoyed reading this book. It was great. I still had the problems that we had with the Swedish writers and all that sort of stuff, and how women are portrayed a lot of the time and not great. So yeah, so I pushed past it and I read this, and yeah, so this one, how it opened up was quite a eye-opening way to open up a couple of chapters of it. But basically it is following Faye, and I think the series is called Faye's Revenge, if I remember. Now I have read the 2 books in this series because, as I said, I got rid of While Justice Sleeps, and I also got rid of The Girl Who Died Twice, which it happens to be Swedish as well. So I replaced, like Gilded Cage came in the box, but I replaced The Girl Who Died Twice with Silver Tears. So basically, Faye is a housewife, has a husband, has a child, is obsessed about her weight and all that sort of stuff because her husband is a narcissistic prick. Is the only way to describe him. I hated him with a passion. I wanted to stab him. But anyway, luckily I wasn't in the story and he wasn't in real. But anyway, I did not really like him, but she basically gets revenge and all that sort of stuff for the stuff that he does. And I'm going to leave it at that because this is so much more. Okay, I gave it 4 stars. Gilded Cage, which day did I get this? This was book 6. I got this one in the thing, and I replaced The Girl Who Died Twice with part 2. Now I can't really talk about what happened in this book because of how this book ended, but just know that this was a great book. I did get a little bit bored towards the center of the book. I have not put a star rating or anything in this, but I did give this 4 stars in the end, how it ended. And I believe, I've got a feeling how this ended, there's probably going to be a book 3. So I'm going to say that it's complete because right now on Goodreads, there is nothing about a book 3. So I'm going to say that this series is complete, but I am going to keep an eye out because how this ended, I just felt like there could have been more. I mean, I'm happy with how it ended, but I feel like there could be more. And I felt the same way with this one as well. So yeah, so I ended up replacing it with this one. And so I got that all read. Now, the other one that I got, now I believe this was day 13, and I also gave this 4 stars as well. Now, Melanie Blake has gone to let me say this, she is going to be an automatic buy for me. The simple fact is, this just reminded me of a Jackie Collins novel. And back in the day, in the 80s, I loved reading those trashy novels from Jackie Collins. And so it was absolutely fantastic to get this book. This is a set in uh, off the coast of Jersey. Falcon Bay was once one of the world's most popular soap opera, or continuing drama, as they like to call it now. But things are getting stirred up because they want to replace the long time main character with someone else, and they're having competition, and then there's a whole series of stuff that happens. And it's just a really good, fun time read. Now, as I said, I gave it 4 stars. It's definitely not a 5-star read. I mean, if you're going on pure vibe alone, 5 stars all the way. But yeah, I had a fun time reading this. And I would even read this again. I had a lot of fun. Probably not right now, but maybe in a couple of years or whatever, pick it up, want a cozy read or whatever, to curl up under some blankets and have a fun time with a bit of trash. This is definitely the one that I'm going to go with. And also, I ended up replacing Whilst Justice Sleeps with Guilty Women, which is the follow-on from Ruthless Women. So I cannot talk about either one of these without giving them away with one another. And if you haven't watched my wrap-ups, I believe I read this in August, so they will probably be in my really long wrap-up for the Amazing Readathon. I will leave the video down below with the timestamp for you if I remember to do that. Not great at remembering, but so I ended up replacing, as I said, While Justice Sleeps and The Girl Who Died Twice with a continuing series. So let me just grab the other one. That was a long way down. So yeah, so they are all the books that I have read out of the Book Grocer. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like, I was a bit concerned that I was getting these boxes and I wasn't reading anything out of them. And I've looked on my shelf, and a lot of books that I have read in the last 12 months have come out of Book Grocer boxes, and especially the Christmas Advent one. So I'm really happy with what I've done. I've only got with the one that we're putting onto my Read Around the World challenge, I have another 9 to read. Is it? No, hang on a sec. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to read, because I'm getting rid of 2. Unhauling. So that's not too bad. So overall, I unhauled four books. So that was While Justice Sleeps, The Girl Who Died Twice, Quieter Than Killing, which is a 4 in a series, and I have no interest in reading that series. And the other one is Capture or Kill, which is an MI5 spy sort of one. And I just don't really, the synopsis is not doing it for me, so they're getting unhauled. But that is my video for today. I do hope that you've enjoyed the Advent, whether it be last year or this year's, you've enjoyed it. If you haven't watched 2022 and you want to go and see the detailed synopsis, that is linked up down below. You can go and see everything. I have got a lot better with my videos since 2022 to 2023. And of course, the playlist for 2023 is also down below as well. So go and check that out. And then that way you will be up to date with everything that's going on. Keep an eye out for the other ones that I still have to read. And of course, as I said, the Norwegian one will get put onto the Read Around the World challenge. And hopefully I will get that read sooner rather than later. But as I said, that is it for me today. I hope that you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And leave me a comment down below. Have you read any of these books? Or if you're here in Australia, have you got the Advent box yet? Let me know what your box was like. But as I said, that is it from me today. As always, keep turning those pages, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.